Hi, welcome to Nari's YouTube channel. Today's topic is going to be about general cooking. So we're going to deep dive into more cooking and recipes and replacements and that type of thing. This is going to be a general overall conversation about being gluten-free and cooking. Easy things you can do. Again, these are just my opinions, things I've learned over the last 20 years. I love cooking, and thankfully, I'd say thankfully, all five of us in this household have celiac, and it's made it a lot easier for us because no gluten crosses my household threshold, whether it's from guests or from family members. This house is a gluten-free safe zone. So my kids and I don't have to worry about, my husband doesn't have to worry about gluten being in the house. So these again are just tips and tricks of things that I've learned over the years, and maybe you were diagnosed a while ago, or maybe you were recently diagnosed and you're just trying to navigate through everything. Number one, please give yourself grace. Learning a whole new diet to help your autoimmune disease, as celiac is an autoimmune disease, is hard. And there's a big learning curve. And just like any other process of losing something you're used to, give yourself time to be frustrated, time to be angry at your body, time to be upset. But then allow yourself the grace to feel grateful. When I found out I have celiac, it was over 20 years ago. I literally thought I was dying. My case of celiac was not the typical maybe, but I had every symptom known to man and then some. And my body was completely shutting down and failing. So when I found out, there was this tremendous sense of relief, like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. And because it's autoimmune, I was sick constantly, and I felt like I had a lemon of a body. And give yourself the joy and the relief of finding out, gosh, I can help myself be healthy by changing my diet. And yeah, it's not fun all the time. And yeah, it's a big learning curve. But let me tell you, there is serious joy in being able to help your body heal. And I will tell you, it's amazing. I am often without a primary care doctor. I have a new one now. But ever since I've been gluten-free and no cross-contamination and managing my diet very well, I'm never sick. The only time I get sick is if I get gluten and my immune system crashes and I pick up anything around me. Same for my kids. It's amazing, but they are the healthiest they've ever been since we found out that they have celiac. My firstborn was sick constantly, and I think he had every childhood illness you could possibly get all the time. So I am thankful that easy things like changing over to gluten-free can make us all so much healthier and feel better. And we will talk on another video about signs and symptoms that I had that maybe will trigger somebody to think, oh gosh, I wonder if this could be what's going on with me. So I'll share my personal story another time in another video. So let's get to it. Let's talk a little bit about going gluten-free. So now you found out you're gluten-free. Let's talk about some easy changes. Number one, you're gonna start becoming the best label reader and researcher in the planet. So you are literally gonna be on your phone, being able to check different things, look at ingredients, looking at if it's got a certified gluten-free label on it. So those things are all gonna be very important to you. So first, let me tell you that whatever you were eating before, and this is just my thoughts and opinions again, but for 20 years, I can tell you the first beginning, I guess, when I was diagnosed, I was eating pretty much, it felt like twigs and berries. And I joke about that, but I often see that look on people's faces when I say I'm a celiac and I eat gluten-free. They're like, oh gosh, okay, great. And I think they really, in the olden days, I say that, but 20 years ago, really thought that we literally ate like leaves off trees. And that was kind of what we survive off of. Well, let me tell you, in 20 years, it's come a long way. And there is, I can't think of a single thing, maybe a couple of things I ate previous to being diagnosed that I now eat that are the same. Maybe they're gluten-free, but I worked very hard the last 20 years to make sure that I'm not missing out on any flavors and consistencies and just yummy goodness. Because I'm telling you, I am a foodie. After depriving my body and myself for so many years and not knowing that food made me so sick, I had a hate relationship with food. So now I love and appreciate food, and I love all sorts of different flavors. And if you're sitting here watching this going, oh, I miss my breads. I miss my pastas. I miss my cookies. Let me tell you, people who come visit my house and eat never know our food's gluten-free. We eat pastas. We eat cookies. We eat cakes. We eat bread. Let me tell you, there is a way to have all those things that you used to have before, but it's just going to be gluten-free and you got to be safe. So first of all, know that there is a way to still have all the things that you love. A couple of quick changes that I would make. Watch out, number one, for toasters. So if you've got gluten bread going in a toaster, you cannot put your gluten-free bread in there. Those small little particles can make celiacs very sick. It makes me really, really sick. So if you have a dual household, number one, make sure you have separate toasters. One clearly marked gluten-free. Make sure your family members know this is just for gluten-free bread. Some people switch their whole household over, but I recognize gluten-free foods are more expensive. So if you have other family members that don't need gluten-free food, I recognize that and appreciate that. Have a separate toaster, and it's so important. I know it sounds crazy, but those little crumbs from the bread can attach to your gluten-free bread and make you sick as a dog. So please, 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 number one, get a new toaster. Number two, if you're sharing in a dual household or you're just switching your household over to gluten-free, look at anything you dip a knife in. So like a butter knife, whether that's peanut butter or mayo, your condiments. Because every time you touch that stuff to bread, you're putting that stuff back into the jars. And those little crumbs will cross-contaminate your gluten-free bread. So not only, are you label reading to make sure that the condiments that you are going to be using are gluten-free, and you become an amazing label reader. And like I said, Google search is great. Is Hellmann's mayo gluten-free? And a lot of people have already done the research for you, or the company has it in their FAQ section on their website. So it's a great, great thing to know how to research. Number two, or maybe it's three. So we got the toaster, we've got the dips, any or condiments, anything you're dipping a butter knife into. And number three, I will ask you to kind of look out for porous, whether it's porous pans or porous, utensils. So anything porous that can soak up other things, I would replace those items, those utensils and pans, to make sure that you're not cross-contaminating yourself. And if you are in a dual household with gluten and non-gluten family members, just make sure to label everything. Like, it's not going to hurt anyone to say this is something that I use and I'm not going to use it on gluten-free products. The only other thing I will tell you to kind of be very cognizant of is flour. So flour is in the air when you bake with it for 24 hours or up to 24 hours is what I've researched. And so if you are a baker or you like to bake a lot of things and you personally have celiac, it's going to be a problem because it's going to sit and land on surfaces. It can land on cooking surfaces. You can inhale it. Crazy story. I'm going to share this real quick with you because it's crazy. In college, I just found out I had celiac. And I know this is going to sound absolutely bonkers, but I was in my dorm room and somebody had spilled a bunch of cereal in the hallway. And I felt like, oh man, that's a lot of cereal, in the hallway, and it's going to get dragged everywhere and it's kind of gross. I don't know who did it, but I'm going to go help clean it up. And so I was just sweeping it up into a trash bag, and it was crumbling and kind of flying everywhere and all this dust and stuff. I was so sick. I was so sick that afternoon. I had never ate it. I didn't pick it up and eat it, but just from sweeping it and crumbling it, and I was on, near the ground, I made myself very sick because I had inhaled it. And so again, flour is something that can be in the air for up to 24 hours, something that I recommend to lots of families that are going gluten-free because of celiac. Is one of the expenses you're probably going to have to go ahead and bite the bullet and incur is switching your flours all over to gluten-free, because it's just so hard to manage. And if you're the person baking and cooking and you have celiac, I don't want you to be exposed to all that flour. We will have a video on the different flours that I like to use, whether it's for baking or cooking or, even baking between cookies and breads. I use two different flours that are cup for cup. So you don't have to like go crazy and change all your recipes. You can easily switch things over to gluten-free and not have to change a whole lot. So don't get bogged down with, I've got to find a gluten-free recipe, because they're really easy to change over too. So I want to kind of wrap up this video real quick. I know it's gone on a little bit long, but those are a couple of really great hints on things you can do in your household to make sure. The last thing I want to mention that most people do not think about is double dipping in chip bags. It's amazing, but people don't just grab one chip out of the bag. Okay, maybe that's just me. Sometimes I eat a whole bag of chips. But if it's a big family size bag, and who says they're family size? In my family with teenage boys, it's like 2 servings. But anyways, I digress. The family size chip bags can be quite big, and you may find that you're serving it up over lunch between members that are celiac in your family and members that don't. And typically little kids don't realize that they can't stick their hands in the bag to pull out another serving of chips. So please, 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 and they may be eating sandwiches that have regular bread, or they may be eating lunches that have gluten in it, and you are sharing those chips with them. So even though you may be pouring it out, your other members in your family may not. And that could be an area that you're getting cross-contamination. So if you are going to eat chips, have your own bag, have individual bags, or just make sure you start really talking to your family about pouring out chips versus sticking their hands in, or just buy a bag or a flavor that nobody else likes but you. Then you're guaranteed no one's going to be sticking their hands in your bag of chips. Anyways, I hope these are some great, I guess, ideas or tips if you're just now going gluten-free, or maybe you've been gluten-free and you didn't think about these things. So I hope these things are helpful to you. And again, these are just some thoughts and ideas that I'm having to share. So I look forward to you on the next video, and we'll talk some more about some other tips and tricks around the kitchen and cooking. Thanks so much. Have a great day.